Hello and welcome back to the Join Dota League Season 3 here on HeflaTV 2. I'm Grandis V, and I'm unfortunately going to be solo casting this because Mike Loris has another tournament to attend to, and he'll be casting for that one instead. So, I'm going to be a caster for this game number 3 of the best of 3 series between the Houses Down and Tengen Gaming. As far as this draft is concerned, we're seeing the respect to that Medusa that Tengen Gaming have favored so highly in the first 2 games. Game number 2, it didn't work out for them so well, but I'm not sure if that was necessarily the Medusa pick's fault, but more where they picked it. They second picked that Medusa up, and honestly, I think that's probably a pretty big mistake. They were just punished so heavily. They went for Nature's Prophet Medusa as well. As a Morphling, and there was just nobody make that space. The Phantom Assassin at the end of that last game just got so incredibly huge. So, either way, we are going to get into this draft proper, as Faceless Void's also banned out by This House is Down, and Terrorblade Death Prophet banned out by Tengen. The same 2 heroes that they've been taking out of the pool from both of the 2 games. Centaur first pick, very familiar to what we saw in the first couple of games, and as far as we've seen, Centaur has had a pretty good performance. The House is Down are going to get their hands on it again this time, and currently in the series has a 100% win rate. Both teams that got the Centaur won the game. Scarlet Mage Earthshaker also very similar to what we saw previously as the first 2 picks. And Vengeful Spirit to follow it up for the House is Down, nothing too surprising. Although the Venge is a little bit of a change of pace, does synergize very well as far as the aggressive potential with the Centaur, offering another stun. And the Magic Missile set for the Hoof Stomp in the early portions of the game, as well as just swaps. Always a good hero to have Venge on your side, especially when Scarlet Mage and Earthshaker already picked up one of your higher tier supports. If they don't want to be going with the Rubik, Vengeful Spirit probably your best single target disabler. As far as the next bans are concerned, Brewmaster Invoker taken out of the pool. No big surprises just yet. We're probably going to see the Meepo. Excuse me, taken out of the pool by Tengen Gaming yet again, although I'd love to see it. Jubilu's Meepo is always fun to watch, although you are picking Meepo up into a Scarlet Mage and Earthshaker, not the best situation for Meepo. Scarlet Mage is manageable and a very squishy target to kill, but Earthshaker getting the Echo Slam damage on all of your Meepos, as well as just a really good initiator for locking you down and keeping you in place while they focus you down with the likes of Mystic Flare. It's not happy times for the Meeps. But either way, yeah, there you go. Meepo's banned out by Tengen Gaming. You can't really fault them for it. Despite picking Meepo up in the Earthshaker, arguably one of the best counters, isolating Meepos as well as having the Echo Slam up against it's wonderful. An experienced Meepo player, or a professional Meepo player, maybe is a better way to put it, is so scary, and it's still a very potent snowballing hero. If that Earthshaker doesn't get a Blink Dagger, suddenly Echo Slam isn't so scary. The House is Down. Have plenty of other directions to go towards, and they're probably not going to be super heartbroken that the Meepo's banned out, but if it wasn't, you can always hope for that Kipo to show his face. Tengen Gaming, I don't know. I'm not sure where they're going to go with this next pick. Last 2 games, they've had Medusa as their hard carry, so we're going to see a little bit of change of pace from Tengen Gaming. The Morphling's still available and might be a solid choice, although if they go for it, please don't go for 3 incredibly greedy cores that you did last game, as the House of Down already have tools to punish that, and if it wasn't already. Tengen Gaming go for the Tidehunter instead as their offlaner, a solid hero all around, going to offer them a solid initiator, although more focused on the AoE than the Centaur, more on those big team fights and the single target pickoffs. Still is a solid offlaner in his own right. No Batrider, but definitely can set up for some big teamfight combos. Ravage and Earthshaker Echo Slam, follow up the Fissure, Mystic Flare flying, and whatever damage the carry is putting out is pretty potent, especially if you get Blink Daggers at a good timing for the Tidehunter and Earthshaker. Blinks are going to be crucial for both teams. For the Tidehunter and Centaur especially, and then Earthshaker whenever he can find the amount of gold in order to pick that one up. The House is Down. Responding to the lineup from Tengen Gaming isn't very easy because there's not really a straightforward counter. They already have the Centaur. Honestly, the first hero that comes to mind is Timbersaw, as far as heroes would be wonderful up against Tengen Gaming's lineup, despite having silence from the Scarlet Mage as well as the Fissure. 2 strength heroes as well as 1 squishy hero make Timbersaw's life a whole lot more fun, but with the Centaur already on their team, I doubt they'd go for it. Visage, the next pickup for the House is Down, potentially setting up for a Dro. Despite going into a Scarlet Mage as well as Tidehunter, in a vacuum, those heroes might not be good enough. And now with the Gyrocopter from Tengen, it's going to be the Dro Ranger for the House is Down. The gloves are off. This is all in for the House is Down. If the Centaur is able to tank up, get a good Blink Dagger, and take the focus away from the Dro, the damage a Dro can put out, especially with the Vengeful Spirit and Visage behind her, is incredibly scary. Defensive swaps can save the Dro Ranger's life, usually at the cost of the Venges, but it doesn't matter. As long as that Dro Ranger stays alive, that's all that the House is Down care about. Keeping that aura for their ranged heroes, despite not all of their heroes being ranged, I think this is probably one of the best lineups for a Draw Ranger. And honestly, Tengen Gaming lineup, despite being pretty good against a Draw Ranger, isn't tailored towards it. If they don't get a Blink Dagger on the Tidehunter, their ways to initiate on that draw are fairly limited. A long-range Fisher can be nice, but if you don't have anything to blink and follow up after that, she'll probably be able to get out safely, whether by a blink of her own or Mask of Madness just running out of there with the extra movement speed. Either way, if the House of Down are used to playing this style of lineup and are good at it and are able to avoid those fights when they want to keep on split pushing or able to just find those pickoffs around the map with the Centaur, this could work wonders. The Ember Spirit ban coming out from them, I suppose is warranted, but honestly, Ember Spirit wouldn't be the scariest of heroes for them to go up against. I really like the Houses Downs lineup, as I do most Draw Ranger lineups. As long as there's nothing akin to a Clockwork Storm Spirit or Bat Rider that's always going to jump in and be able to isolate that draw. If the Draw Ranger stays alive, that's going to be pretty much handing out damage items to the rest of the ranged heroes, Vengeful Spirit and Visage in particular. And honestly, the Draw Ranger Visage combo is just so darn good with those familiars. And not to mention Visage himself, it's something in that combination that's very rarely brought up, but Gravechoke giving Visage an extra 100 attack speed, or is it 100? 64, excuse me. But yeah, the extra 64 attack speed, Visage is going to be hitting pretty hard as well, having decently long range, potentially building into power treads, or maybe just going for that Ags. Either way, it's very scary. The House is down. If their lanes break even, I'm going to love their lineup. But if they lose, and there's this fifth hero from Tengen Gaming that can make a whole heck of a lot of space and punish this Draw Ranger, they could be in for a good time. The lockdown coming out from the House of Down, or House is Down, is fairly limited. I don't know. They have a silence from the Drow that's fairly unreliable. The Magic Missile and Center of Stomp are nice, but they're not very great at locking down the likes of a Storm Spirit, which might be a pretty solid choice for Tengen Gaming. They're looking for that mid laner, and unless their spells are timed perfectly, Hoofstomp, Magic Missile, and Silence can all be fairly easily avoided by a well-timed Ball Lightning out by the Storm. 10 seconds left for Tengen Gaming. It's gonna be a Shadow Fiend instead. Ooh, Tengen. This is kind of in between where their lineups were in game number 1, game number 2. Viper, the last pick for the House is Down, is going to secure their lanes and give another tanky frontliner for them to deal with. And honestly, I'm just really liking what the House is Down is bringing to the table. Whether Draw Ranger is played in the mid or as a safe lane farmer, I'm not sure it matters all that much because she'd be more than capable of handling the lane versus Shadow Fiend, as would the Viper. I think sending the Draw Ranger towards the safe lane is your better bet. Vengeful Spirit and Visage can probably get a kill on the Tidehunter if they catch him out in an awkward situation. You have 1 or 2 points in those Frost Arrows as well to follow up. I don't know. I don't like the Shadow Fiend last pick for them. If the Shadow Fiend, however, has a really good time, he'll be able to blink in the enemy lines with a BKB. He has very little to be afraid of as long as he's inside the Draw Ranger's face. He's not the best hero for doing it, and honestly, I would have liked the Storm a lot better, but it still could work. It's by no means a loss at the draft screen, which honestly, I felt like game number 2 was closer to fitting into that category. Either way, into the game we go. Tengen on the Radiant side. They're going to use or put that last pick Shadow Fiend on the Noobs R Us with the supporting duo being Bartlett on the Skywrath Mage and Tunurla on the Earthshaker Railgun, going to be handling the Tidehunter. And last but not least, our Gyrocopter played by Ryanoob. On the Dire side, we are going to have the Houses Down with Leposa handling the Draw Ranger. There are 2 partners in crime. The Vengeful Spirit and Visage are going to be handled by Hamadefen as well as Vestias, respectively. Yuka going to be playing on the Viper, leaving their offlaner to be a Centaur, who is on the edge of their well, going to be played by Jubilu. Never forget. So there you have it. We're going to start with the pods, which is a pain in the rear to deal with as a solo caster, as I really don't have a whole heck of a lot to talk about. So if you want to drop me a message inside the chat, that would be more than welcome. Either way, I might not be able to see it unless this pause, God forbid, lasts for more than 2 minutes. Although it very well might. I have no idea what the problem is. They haven't really communicated. Just sec coming out from Leposa. So yeah. I wish I had Michael Riz with me at least throughout the draft, but that's not the case. I can't remember what tournament he's casting for, but he has previous obligations that he has to attend to. Yeah, the schedule wasn't very solid about the day, and it was, I don't know, kind of iffy whether or not this game was going to happen at the right time, but the unpause is going to come through, and I can stop chitter-chattering as we get into the game, rightfully so. Is my hotkey messed up for... Okay, there we go. Apparently my alt key was stuck down, or something like that. Either way, into the game we go. The smoke being picked up by the Venge. Aggressive rotation coming out from Vestias as well as Hamadefen. I have no idea how to say his name. Hamadefen, maybe? Either way is pretty potent as long as they have level 2, so they can have the both of the spells coming out from Vestius most importantly. Level 2 for Venge isn't as important, but getting the boots on the Vengeful Spirit will be very useful for them to be able to roam around. Currently, it's looking like an aggressive tri-lane coming out from Tengen, also rocking with the smoke of their own. Ryanu leading the charge, looking for this rune. They've committed all of their heroes. Shadow Fiend's going to be sacrificing his block in order to go for this kill, and it probably isn't going to happen at all. Yeah, Shadow Fiend will be able to back off in time in order to block the creeps at a decent time. But if they fully commit for this, which it looks like they will, looking for a full level 1 engagement, their level 1 isn't that terrible. Gush has not been skilled by Tidehunter, but if they need it, they might use it. Currently, the Visage is the closest one, but he's going to be far enough away to not get caught out. The Droranger also playing defensively enough in the bench. None the wiser, going to be going for a ward of her own, and Amadefin is going to survive without bumping into enemy heroes, and Shadow Fiend's going to be able to back off before his block, so not a lot lost by Tengen, with the exception being that 100 gold. Yeah, no wards placed either, so you can't really call that a map control win either. Flexing their muscles and hoping to catch somebody out with a nice Fisher block. One of the best level 1 spells. Is at their disposal, so why not abuse it? Centaur in this offlane isn't going to have the greatest of times. Scarlet Mage going to be spamming out the Arcane Bolts to his heart's content. Jublu going for boots first isn't going to have the most regen to deal with that. Is sitting on a regen rune, speak of the devil, but can't really utilize this. Is going to sit on it for now. Hoofstomps then picked up the regen rune. Beautiful play. Coming out from Jublu, very effectively using his mana. I'm not sure if he would have wanted the return, honestly. I think that probably would have served him better, as there's not a lot of killing potential, but either way, getting off the feel-good Hoofstomp. Skywrath Mage and Earthshaker going down towards bottom as another pause coming out sec from Railgun and Bartlett. Yuck. Well, we are going to have to stall for a little bit more time as nothing has actually happened. Bar that early smoke coming out from Tengen, there's not a whole lot to talk about. This mid lane matchup, Viper versus Shadow Fiend, is going to start out terribly for Shadow Fiend. In fact, he is going for Necromastery level 1. A lot of the time versus Viper, you might consider going for Shadow Rays earlier on, just so you can ensure that you get your bottle earlier on. Oh dear, I think I said earlier on a billion times there, but either way, okay, sorry, G is going to come out. As I was saying, Shadow Fiend, he is committing fully towards the damage with as much damage as he possibly can muster, but Yuka should still have this lane more or less on lockdown, with the base damage advantage, as well as more regen than Noobs R Us, as well as just a poison attack. And the aggressive play coming out from the Viper is more than warranted. I don't think he's going to die. He does have some support coming out from the Earthshaker's little Skywrath Mage, and if the Viper plays too aggressively, he might get caught out. They're looking for the Fissure. They don't throw it, and Yuka's going to survive. Or will he? The Fissure blocks him off away from his ramp, forcing him to run towards the north. They don't have any other lockdowns. Arcane Bolt was skilled by Skywrath Mage, but still, is it going to be enough damage? Getting a first blood for Shadow Fiend could be huge. They need one more auto attack, and they can't secure it for the Shadow Fiend. Now he's salving up one with right click from Bartlett. Will secure it. Bartlett wanted that for the Shadow Fiend a little too much. If he just right clicked, it could have gone the Shadow Fiend's way, but still killing the Viper is going to be a boon for Tengen here, as it's going to make this lane for the Shadow Fiend a lot more manageable. In the meantime, Droranger having a time of her life up in top, 4-1, and now hopefully getting some last hits under tower, is going to miss both of them, unfortunately, and well, let's see, that's going to be a third miss. Everybody's watching, fourth hit is not going to happen. Laposa missing all of those. Either way, THD are going to be happy with how this top lane is going, as Tidehunter can do nothing. Railgun soaking level 2, and that's all you can hope for your offlane Tidehunter in this situation. Eventually, you might see some ancient stacks being stacked up, but I don't know, the ability to farm those is a little bit more decreased, despite, your Anchor Smash still scaling to a decent point. Noobs Arrest is going to ferry himself out some tangos to sit and line up against the Viper a little bit longer, but now that he's picking up some momentum as far as souls are concerned, he can actually right-click up against the Viper, or CS up against the Viper pretty effectively, despite the precision aura going the way of the Viper as well. Both of them operating with similar amounts of damage. This Shadow Fiend's life just got a whole lot easier. Jublu finds himself an Invis rune in the bottom rune spot. Might transition into a kill, although it's unlikely. Probably just going to secure some experiences in mid. Shadow Fiend hit with the magic missile will be dropped down as a nice rotation coming out from Amaduthan is going to land. I have no idea if I'm saying that right, and sorry if I offend you, Vengeful Spirit, or anybody that speaks that language, or if it's even a language that I know. I don't know. Sorry about that. Yuka's going to survive, going to ferry himself out of South to make sure that that harass that he received isn't going to be the end-all, be-all. Getting a return kill is going to be very nice, especially onto the Shadow Fiend, which souls now are not looking too great. With 2 points up in the Nethertoxin, Viper can outlast hit the Shadow Fiend very effectively now, so THG are going to strike back. Gyrocopter and Dro are being more or less completely left alone. There's a fissure attempt. They're getting Jubilu, in fact, very low with boots. However, I think he's going to survive here as the jukes are going to be enough. Scarlet Mage not able to connect with another Arcane Bolt auto attack, and maybe even then he wouldn't have died if he was tangoing up. I think that would have been a lot, or would have been close. There's going to be stun up top. Now going the way of Railgun, the body blocks, and one more Soul Assumption coming out from Vestius will secure that one. I believe he used both of the, or two Soul Assumptions. No, it was just a Grave Chill into Soul Assumption. The action is pretty spread out across the map, and it's going to be pretty back and forth. THD are finding the better half of that engage. Despite getting their Viper first blooded 1-2, it's still anybody's game. Gyrocopter's item build right now, it's just Boots and Basilius. Nothing too unconventional for Ryanoob here. Eventually that might change, but the rotation's going to come mid instead from the two Radiant supports. Tunurla, oh no, that gank is doomed to failure as he gets right-clicked by the tower. If the Viper was paying attention at all, and all the Earthshaker was there. And so, Tunurla as well as Bartlett are going to be forced down towards the bottom lane as there's nothing that they can do after being spotted out. Although the Centaur is pretty aggressively positioned, he shouldn't die. No level 2 on the Skywrath Mage, no silence, no nothing. Jubilee is going to eat an Arcane Bolt for his trouble, but he can just shrug that one off. He actually buys a fresh set of Tangos. Currently, the Centaur, as well as the Tidehunter, having pretty even times as far as lane experience is concerned, both with about 3.5, no kills, pretty much the same items on top of them as well, with the exception being the Stout Shield on the Centaur. Actually, doesn't matter. The rotation is going to come to mid, coming out from the Vengeful Spirit. Yet again, we're going to see this hero rotating around, and it's just kind of a 1-2 punch from either team. Now, Tunurla, as well as the Venge, are currently sitting mid, looking to kill their opponent here. Regeneration rune secured by the Vengeful Spirit as the Viper hasn't gone for a bottle. Is not going to cost her mid anything and is just going to refill her mana. Centaur down in bottom. Looks like he threw out a double edge. Nah, he's just taking some rest from the Gyrocopter. It's more or less a 1v1 lane, which is fine for the Gyro, but maybe giving the Centaur a little bit more than they have to. The Earthshaker Fissure in mid, they get the kill on the Viper. I didn't expect that to actually happen, but it looks like the Viper was playing too aggressively and got caught out by a couple of tower shots, and that was enough for them to secure that kill. It wasn't Shadow Fiend that got the last hit, so he's not capped out on souls yet. But honestly, it doesn't matter, as that's still another kill going on the Viper, and honestly, this Viper should be having a better time. 19-6 compared to 16, 17-7 now on the Shadow Fiend. Shadow Fiend's going to have a wonderful time. The ability of this hero to catch up is great. He might die again, in which case it would go back in the favor of THD, but currently we're looking at 2 lanes going in the favor of Tengen, whereas only 1 for THD. Despite the 1 lane going towards THD being the Draw Rangers, Tengen are going to be happy with this. However, if they wait too long to punish Luposa, that could be a different story entirely. Looks like it's going to be Midas for a Drow Ranger. As far as heroes to pick up Midas, I think Drow Ranger is one of the better ones. Getting an early level 11 and level 16 on her is absolutely crucial for the extra damage coming out from her aura, as well as just her straight up damage. Its scaling on the ultimate's pretty strong, starting out with 40 agility and gaining 20 each level. It's a really big boost in powers. The Skywrath Mage gets double-edged and also is going to fall the Centaur. Call down being used. It's going to be a 1-for-1 trade. The Gyrocopter is going to get the last hit, so it's going to favor Tengen, although the offlaner getting a kill before he dies is going to make Tengen, or THD, excuse me, pretty happy with that. He's going to buy up his Tranquil Bits. He didn't get those before he died, so did lose a little bit of gold, but only 100 gold swing going the way of Tengen all said and done. Although that 100 gold is going in the pockets of your Gyrocopter, arguably your most important hero on the side of the Radiant. Maybe bar the Shadow Fiend. Shadow Fiend currently going to be farming up a side stack. It actually wasn't stacked up at all, just going to be some casual ogres for noobs or us in between the creeps. Definitely worthwhile, especially if he can snag those last hits in lane. At this point, the Viper, despite having Precision Aura as well as level 6, isn't going to shut down the Shadow Fiend solo. Shadow Fiend is still right-clicking hard enough in order to keep up with the Viper and at least get some last hits. Unless Viper is just on the very edge of Nether Toxin range, it's just not going to happen. Railgun still waiting on his level 6, in fact only level 4, with the solo kill. Centaur almost 2 full levels ahead of this Tidehunter. Well, I shouldn't say that, only 1 full level. Either way, Centaur Stampede is going to be online very soon, which might lead to a kill in mid with the Viper chasing somebody down with the Viper Strike, or maybe save the Drow Ranger's life. Either way, a lot of utility is going to be made by that Stampede. In fact, it looks like they're angling towards bottom with Stampede available. If they get the Hoof Stomp and follow up with Venge, could be a fairly straightforward kill. Centaur Ultimate being deployed. Ryanoob is going to drop the call down, but he eats a Magic Missile as well as the Double Edge. However, Jubilee dropping to the Rocket Barrage is going to fall, and can they actually chase down this kill? Slow from Concussive Shot is going to keep Ryanoob alive as he's salving up, potentially turning a little bit too aggressively. In this room from Yuka, not going to destroy the Arcane Bolt, but still they turn very effectively onto that Centaur, underestimating the damage. Had they not chained their stuns as they did, I think the Gyrocopter would have died. They overlapped them a little too much there, as the Hoof Stomp and the Magic Missile almost came out simultaneously, and Rocket Barrage is incredibly damaging as a spell. Even though Gyrocopter only has 2 points into it, it's still a wonderful amount of damage. Joe Ranger also going to be abusing the jungle. Midas was completed, although I didn't see when. The Shadow Fiend forced TP out in mid. Will he be able to make it? Noobs or else he's going to die in bases. He will! The last tick from the Viper Strike's going to be enough. I thought he was home free, but Shadow Fiend is going to die as the regen from the well is just not going to be enough to save him from Yuka's potent venom. Yeah, Viper just finding another kill on this Shadow Fiend is going to bounce back the favor of this mid lane. Despite Shadow Fiend having a little bit more gold, he's now at half souls. It's more or less a trade even. THD are now getting a little bit more out of this, and finally we get a reason for the pausing, but the reason is a potato computer on the side of Tengen, so this may take a while. The state of the game currently is still fairly even, although the graphs are going to be slightly in the favor of Tengen for now. That's probably going to dip down after that last kill, and experience is in the favor of THD. It's more or less a null game. 4-4, 1-1 in the series. Either of these teams could take out the win. We're waiting for the... excuse me. Jordan should pick up some more items to actually become incredibly relevant, although level 6 is there for the Visage. Just tick that and does have the birds available. I'm not sure where he dropped the summons. They're currently here. And with the aura coming out from the Drow Ranger, even now, that's going to be an extra 20 damage for each of those familiars. And if you think about it, that's pretty ridiculous already. It's guaranteed 30 damage and they're hitting at maximum attack speed, more or less, as well as having 2 of those units at 60 damage per pop. They can focus down these supports pretty effectively, especially the Skywrath Mage. Incredibly squishy. It's already scary. It's only going to get worse from here once you get more points into marksmanship and more items on your Drow Ranger. In fact, even more points in the aura. Yeah, this Gyrocopter having a great time in bottom, but is it enough? Helm the Dominator, Gyrocopter going pretty darn greedy. Not a huge fan of this choice. Honestly, I would have liked to see BKB rush. Will he be able to get away with it? I'm not sure. Current buff onto the Helm of the Dominator is pretty nice. For Helm of the Dominator carriers and just getting that extra HP on your creep. So it's not killed as easily, and you can actually use it pretty effectively in the fight. There's currently a triple stack, I want to say. No, just double stack. 1 stack of the Thunder Hides and 1 stack of the Granite Golems. Is going to secure Gyrocopter a little bit more gold. Either way, I'm going to take this time to check out chat to make sure everything is going smoothly, and it looks like it is. So we are going to continue throughout this pause. Yeah, I have no control over this, and sorry about it. This kind of happens a little more than I'd care to admit with these American games. Server issues, computer issues are rampant throughout the scene, and even the higher tier teams are no exception. Tengen, THD, I would say fill that higher slot in the South American scene. Well, currently waiting on Gyrocopter, so Ryan Noob, come on, get your stuff together. Not sure why he needed a PC reboot, to be honest. I wish they'd give us more information so I'd at least have something to talk about. Currently, I am devolved to nothing. I have no material that I can actually pull to. I don't have a co-caster to poke and ask ridiculous off-the-wall questions, and I don't even have any questions for myself, honestly. Right now, it's just a matter of time until the Blink Dagger comes online for the Centaur, where THD are able to pick things up. The build for the Viper currently is not going to tilt either way, just going to be sending out a TP scroll and presumably power treads. Mechanism Viper is a lot harder to pull off now, as with Mech as well as Viper Strike, you're completely tapped out of your mana pool already. So I'm not sure if I entirely like that build coming out from the Viper. Maybe just going for an Ags would be better, or maybe even some pretty strong right-clicking items. I don't know. I like the Ags, just giving him some more tank as well as the utility with the Viper Strikes. Being able to throw Viper Strikes on the Gyrocopter and Shadow Fiend throughout the fights would be incredibly useful, as well as keeping the Tidehunter at arm's length. Yeah, it would leave them without a mechanism. Eventually, Vengeful Spirit might consider it, but she also suffers pretty similar mana problems in this. She gets mana boots. So yeah, we'll just have to see. It's just a matter of time. Also, pretty distressing is that we don't have any cosmetics to talk about on any of these heroes. Really, Drow Ranger has some okay stuff. Nothing to write home about though. Yeah, it's a pretty solid set. That's probably the most flashy that we're going to see in this game. Oh, actually, I take that back. Vengeful Spirit, I can't actually see what her items are called, but she is rocking that crown, I believe, from the first Vengeful Spirit set that was added, as well as a Talon of Skriak. So I take that back. THD have some stuff to work with. Centaur, no items. Currently we have the civilian Centaur thing going on, as it is a pause. Let's see. Mid animation through his attack, and you can look at the gold flying out of that creep's head as he splits it in twain with his mighty axe as Gyrocopter gets back in the game. So enough drivel and casual talk about cosmetics is we actually get to watch some Dota, which is what we all came here for, to be honest, and looking at a slideshow is more or less completely useless. So, thanks for bearing with me as hopefully we can get this game going soon. We are going to have the ready coming out from THD as soon as Ryanoob is going to give the good to go, and it is going to be Railgun that calls it out for Tengen. And into the game, we are going to proceed. Visage resumes the game, and well, there's nothing actually exciting happening for now, and it's going to take a little bit of time before we fully get online. We are going to have a stack potentially made by the Vengeful Spirit, although she's pretty darn early towards it. Going to be sitting there awkwardly for about 15 seconds or so, until she's able to pull that. Not exactly sure where the spawn box for this camp is, although I assume it stops right about here. It's a fairly easy camp to stack, to be honest. In fact, they actually changed it. Previously, it was like here, and you could get 10 stacks up there. Unfortunately, no Tinker is available. That would be sick. Either way. Junurla getting a little room in mid, getting close to his level 6, 3 points up in the Fissure, 1 point in the Enchant Totem, 1 point in the passive. Fairly standard fare for Earthshaker. As Shadow Fiend is currently cleaning up a stack, unfortunate for him, he has some Mud Golems to deal with and is going to have to right-click his way through those without using any more Shadow Raises. Going to use one more to clean up the Wolves, but Mud Golem don't care, as he'll be drop down fairly quickly after the fact. We do have a smoke coming out from the Centaur as well as the Venge, and this might be the end of the Shadow Fiend. I think it is. Centaur ultimate being deployed. They use the Magic Missile, and now they're going to combo their spells correctly with the Double Edge Hoof Stomp. Oh, Double Edge not going to be there. The Double Edge comes out after the Fissure, but they don't have enough damage. One right clicks all that they need. He's going to fall. Centaur gets the kill with Return. Why did he right click him? Centaur's going to lose his life after the fact, but now the Scarlet Mage also going to fall. Yuka in a very awkward situation, going to be sent by Junurla. They drop the Ravage for it. Yuka being dropped down. He gets the Earthshaker before he falls, and now he's going to be in an awkward situation. As the missile's coming through, Yuka's probably going to give his life turn. Do whatever damage you can before you die. He is going to be tagged by the missile eventually. Bottling up, he might survive throughout all of this. They have another Anchor Smash coming from the Tidehunter. He is going to drop this eventually. Gush first. Get that minus armor. He's still bottling up. The Anchor Smash doesn't come through. Railgun. The ring around the Rosies. It might favor the Viper. They're both surviving. And Yuka, he's going to run straight to Ryanoob, the Fissure, but they don't kill him. Yuka, he's surviving. He's TPing. The cooldown's off the mark. Yuka's back in base. Viper the Jukes. Oh my goodness. He was so dead for so long there. How did he live? I don't know. In the meantime, we have a Visage that's farming up top, taking the tier 1 tower with his Visage Familiars as we get a little bit of a lull in the action. But Vestius is currently sitting on 2,200 gold, looking pretty solid as far as net worth is concerned. Vestius going to have a very quick Ags, in fact, with a Point Booster and Ogre Club already finished, only 2,000 gold on top of it. Nothing too big for the Visage to handle, especially if he's left split pushing a lane with his Familiars like he is currently, and this is a great way to play your drill. Honestly, the Visage is the carry in this combo, as weird as it is to say. Laposa is more or less just there for the aura. She does a lot of damage inside the teamfights herself, but those birds become the real heavy hitters. Ooh, man, I still can't get over how Yuka was able to survive there. He makes it out on very little HP. The bottle charges save him, but right now he might not be so lucky. He does get a Centaur ultimate, however, the news coming up from the Scarlet Mage, one more auto attack. They're not going to lose the kill this time. Centaur double edges down the Shadow Fiend, however, it's a 1-for-1 right now as Bartlett's pursued. Body box coming out from the Centaur, although he's going to juke towards the left, and I think he's going to survive. TP away from Jubilee will be successful as there's no Ravage commit. Oh, Visage, I don't like your item choice, buddy. He is going to be going for the medallion after the fact. I think Viper is going to be going for the mechanism. Those are both his mechanism bits on the courier. It's still a solid choice for him, although his poison attacks really aren't going to be very sustainable, and once he has Ags, he's not going to get more than 2 or 3 ultimates off in a team fight. But honestly, that's what you're going to have anyway. It's still a very solid item for your Viper to have. Gyrocopter, as far as item choices are concerned, backs off for the drums after getting the Helm of the Dominator. Oh, I would have liked to see a BKB, to be honest. Even though they have the swap to go through it and the physical damage of their Visage as well as their Venge, and Dro, excuse me. It's just not enough. Up in top, the Visage Familiars almost killed themselves to the Anchor Smash. In fact, he loses one. Not sure if it was denied or not. I think it was some gold given away to the Tidehunter. He has a resummon available, and they're going to go aggressively on a Tide. He's silenced up, and now the arrows are going to come through from Laposa. Max out. The aggressive build is going to pay off here as Visage is able to secure that with the Soul Assumption. Usually we're not seeing this Frost Arrow as being maxed out by the Dro, but with the extra levels from the Hand of Midas, is able to make that pay off. No lifesteal on Laposa, but still very comfortable farming these jungle camps, and that's going to be THD's spot where this Dro makes her home. Level 11 now, level 2 up in the marksmanship, and that's going to be a total of 42 extra damage on the Visage Familiars. Imagine Familiars that are always doing maximum damage, and when they first start out they get double damage. That's effectively what these Familiars are going to be doing, and that's incredibly scary, especially if you're a 700 HP Scarlet Mage. Roshan is also fairly easy for THD to take with the minus armor from the Vengeful Spirit, as well as the damage from the Dro, as well as Visage. They probably don't even need to commit all of their heroes fully. If Dro had some lifesteal on her person, she could probably solo it up, and then you just add that extra bit of lifesteal. She is going to ferry out a Salve, as well as her Yasha, just going full damage instead for that lifesteal, but now they're smoked up. This combo can get some pretty dangerous pickoffs around the map. Shadow Fiend going to go for a late hand of Midas. Again, I'm not liking these item choices coming out from Tengen. I feel it's a little too greedy. Even if they take this late, you're working up against a Droranger and a Visage. Eventually, it's not going to be that scary. They drop the center ultimate down for bottom as they find themselves a Ryan Noob. The double edge is going to come out. The cooldown does a decent amount of damage to Jubilu, but he's going to be completely fine, even if the missile lands its mark, which honestly it's probably not going to do with the right clicks coming out from the Venge. There's actually no tower there, so the missile is going to kill him. Gyrocopter, he has 3 points in the missile. I didn't expect that. Viper dying in the mid lane as they get a kill on the Shadow Fiend as well is going to favor THD, especially since they get Roshan at the meantime. Gyrocopter's build, man. I thought he was maxing out the rocket barrage as per normal, and that rocket would have done nothing, but 375 damage. I love that he's maxing out this missile. Honestly, I really don't know why more people don't do it, especially since at the early portion of the game, that's where rocket barrage is really going to be shining. If you're not able to get the kills with that, go for the missile. It takes more attacks to destroy, which is honestly more significant than anything, is it's going to draw 2 attacks away from Laposa, or 2 additional attacks away from Laposa or other heroes, and everybody's going to be right-clicking pretty darn hard on their team, and even though it doesn't seem like much, you might as well consider that damage block for 1 attack, so, I don't know, it's probably not as great as I'm making it out to be, but even just the damage, he wouldn't have gotten that kill if he went for Rocket Barrage build, so it pays off there, just in and of itself. Yuka going to be tagged with the Fissure in mid, but doesn't matter, he's going to mech in fact for that. We'll push out the lane a little bit more, but not sure if that was really worth it, as Laposa pauses the game. Pause gaming coming out from these 2 teams. Sec. I don't know what the heck is going on, please tell me, somebody. I still don't have anything to talk about. Oh, well, that was actually a second. The earlier sec pauses were more along the lines of 5 minutes. But hey, we're gonna get into the game. Nice. Oh, maybe. There you go. Game unpausing and... Oh, that was a close call. We almost had to look at cosmetics again. We might be looking at engagement coming up from THD. Laposa with the Aegis has not a fear in the world. If she dies once, she'll probably die again, but she'll be able to push a little bit more aggressively with this. The tier 1 tower in mid is going to take a lot of damage from the Viper, although it's not damning. Jubilu with the Blink Dagger going to bump into Turnurla. He sees him. Oh, he sees Noob's Arrest. He just Midas to creep, and now Turnurla walks into the center. Or does he? He doesn't actually make it all the way up the high ground. I think they actually saw him and pinged him out. Or maybe they expect Jubilu to be around. Either way, that would have been close. I wasn't actually looking at the respective focuses of war before that, so I don't actually know. But the tier 1 tower is being whittled down. And on the sidelines, Froster is throwing the wave. Railgun, the Visage Familiars are here. They're going to turn the Aura, or will they? The Aura isn't available, but Railgun's still dropping incredibly low. The drops are going to come out and stun up Noob's Arrest, but Railgun, using that Ravage defensively, is going to be a pretty easy fight for THD to take. The tier 1 tower is going to fall to the Viper, and they can go tier 2s. To be honest, they have Calldown available, as well as Earthshaker Echo Slam, which might be nice, but with Aegis on the Dro, as well as the Aura coming back off the cooldown fairly shortly in 30 seconds, even without the Aura, heck, they're going to be able to take this incredibly quickly. Despite the Familiars not having that much damage, they're actually being affected by the Aura still. Huh. I'm not sure if that's a bug or not. Huh. Was that a change? It looks like they're being affected by that Aura. I know they're being affected by the Venge, but the Dro Aura was on cooldown. I'm not sure if that's a replay bug or not. I'll have to keep an eye on how much damage they're actually doing. I don't think that's how it works. They do have the Dro Aura available again, so they'll definitely have that guaranteed damage. I think that was just a bug on my end, or me just misseeing it. Centaur pursuing on the Shadow Fiend, looking for Love Stomp. Bringing around the Rosies, his tree fogging him for all he's worth. Noob's Arrest going to turn for an auto attack. Love Stomp whiffs. Noob's Arrest is going to survive for now. Going to the creeps, trying to TP out. It's not going to succeed as the magic missile comes out from the Venge. A very hasty move coming out from Noob's Arrest. He drops the ultimate, doesn't get it off before he gets the death ulti off, and Shadow Fiend is going to be picked. As the meantime, the Gyrocopter dropped to the sheer damage of Laposa as well as Vestius. Entirely solo. The Gyrocopter cannot survive against that, BKB or not, it doesn't matter. Gyrocopter is a pretty squishy hero, especially to physical damage. Even with the extra armor from the Helm of the Dominator, does not stand a chance. And now, down into bottom, they're going to push. They've already taken away a lot of the map control coming out from Tengen, and they're not going to stop here. Laposa, despite being low, is with Aegis, and even if he dies, it doesn't actually matter to Laposa. As long as he's giving that Aura to his Familiars during the team fight, they're going to do a ridiculous amount of damage. Vestius, despite backing off for the Medallion, is going to have Up his Agnums at a good timing. As good an item as Medallion is, I would have liked to see him just straight up rush the Ags because he'd have it completed now. Which is pretty crazy to think about, to be honest. As a support Visage, he's getting a ridiculous amount of farm. In a lull in the action, we'll go ahead and take a look at the net worth, and kind of as expected, it's about 8,000 in the favor of THD, a pretty significant lead there, and similar in the experience department. They're going to find themselves a bounty rune. Their Aegis is going to expire, I believe, in about a minute or so, a little bit more than that. But that's still plenty of time for them to take a tier 2 tower on top of it. The tier 1 tower up on top is being pushed by Tengen. They do have an Earthshaker with Arcane Boots, Fissure, and all of the spells available to them. Ravage is also up. They might be able to take this tier 1 and also contest. But then again, it's a Drow Ranger pushing, and with the aura as well as just the damage coming out from her, it's ridiculous. And there's your completed Ags on Vestius. To heck with him not having the Agnums because he went for Medallion, he has both. It is going to be up in top lane where they get the tier 1 tower. Fissure's going to zone everybody out. The Centaur is inbound and potentially looking for a jump, but he has no backup. Gyrocopter's falling very low in the meantime in mid lane, although Viper's not able to seal the deal, completely zoning out Ryanoob. And the high ground is being pushed by THD. The tier 3 towers drop down to about half with very little committed. They gush up Vestius, and Vestius might fall. Drop 1, drop 2, drop 3. Vestius is pretty darn tanky. He tanks the entirety of that Mystic Flare, only level 1. Vestius with maxed out Gravekeeper's Cloak actually didn't care about the majority of that. He's probably going to lose at least one familiar, but he kills off the Skywrath before going down, and now gets the double! It's going to be 2 kills going the way of Vestius. They did not respect that damage, and I've been harping on how crazy that damage is, but I can't stress that enough. With the Drow Aura on top of it, they're hitting like little trucks. 49 damage on top of it. It's crazy. Laposa just making that Visage into the true carry, and now high ground is not out of the question. Tier 3 tower probably going to be taken. They'll have Ravage when they come back, so it's pretty risky, but they still have an Aegis. No, they don't. It's actually expired on Drow. They need to be careful. They might get this tier 3, but even then, it's pretty risky. Just back off, THG. They get tagged with a missile. It's going to be doing upwards of 300 damage. In fact, it's maxed out. It's going to be 500 if it actually makes it there, which it won't. Reckless is going to be enough. It takes quite a while to get it, but in the end, just going to feed 22 gold the way of the Drow Ranger. Drow is going to pick up let's see. It's going to be Laposa getting herself an ultimate orb, as well as a completed Mantis style. I believe the central ultimate's being deployed for bottom lane. They will be able to pick off 2. They did commit the Ravage as well as a call down to that, and they only get the Venge. There is a gem on the deck. The Silence lands onto everybody. Laposa is solo. He's going to be able to solo up Bartlett. They jump onto him. They're not able to lock him down at all, as Laposa is still being chased down with the Echo Slam. They're going to have plenty of damage to get Laposa, and that was a bit greedy from the Drow Ranger, I must say so myself. But yeah, that's going to secure your Shaker as Blink Dagger. Usually giving the support those high priority kills isn't the greatest, but suddenly that's 600 gold in the pocket of the Shaker, and that's going to be the 600 gold that tips him over the threshold towards this Blink Dagger. And suddenly, a little bit of 3-2-2 action. It's going to be Tengen back inside this game, despite underestimating the damage potential from THD at a very crucial moment. We'll tie that up. Droranger did spend the majority of her gold before dying with the Mantis style completed. She's not going to lose that much. The Centaur gets picked off as well, throws a dying breath double edge, I believe, onto the Tidehunter, but it doesn't do anything. It's also a gem secured that originally belonged to the Vengeful Spirit, so Tengen Gaming get a larger swing of gold than originally might have been thought. As the Shadow Fiend also dies, my goodness, I'm just missing kills left and right. It wasn't the double edge towards the Tidehunter, it was the way of the Shadow Fiend. I wish Mike Loris was here, but heck, that's just kind of how we have to deal with things. It's actually been a pretty entertaining game. Drow Ranger going to be sending another item on the career. Nah, it's just going to be that Mantis style again. Ogre Club on the Drow Ranger, going to be going for a more traditional hard carry build for your Drow, nothing along the likes of Blink or Mask of Madness, just going to be going straight up for that BKB as the call down is going to be dropped. Wait, what is going on there? It's dropped onto the Drow Ranger. Huh. Okay, yeah, TP away from Rhino. That makes a whole lot more sense. Okay, so enough of that. No more missing kills. We're going to get back into this game. As Earthshaker's deep behind enemy lines with an Invis rune. He doesn't have any backup, but he might be able to solo kill up Laposa. Laposa does have 1600 HP, and scratch that. There's no solo killing this hero. But if you do have a little bit more backup in the form of the Skywrath Mage, it could be useful as the Central Ultimate's being deployed inside the jungle. They found the swap on the Noobs or Rust. He's being ripped to shreds by the Vengeful Spirit, Visage Familiars with the Drow Aura. Those things are hitting with no charges for almost 100 damage. No, I take that back. It's not without charges, but with the charges, those hits are doing a ridiculous amount. Even without them, it's doing 60 apiece. It's 180 at max attack speed. That's broken. It's not actually broken. It's balanced by the fact that it's definitely a counterable strategy. They're both very squishy, but you kind of need some way to jump into them. And this last pick, Shadow Fiend's not going to do it. The ultimate's going to be tanked completely by Yuka. Silence comes out way too late to commit Ravage for this. Will they even kill him off? I think they will. In the end, the Arrow Shaker and company will be able to bring down the Viper. There you go. One more auto attack's going to be enough to get the kill. Viper still ate everything that they had to throw at him, and honestly, it's not the biggest loss for Viper. Still a win for Tengen, although not as much as it would have been if they were able to kill off the Draw Ranger or something like that. It's a big gold swing, mostly in the pockets of the Earthshaker, but that Earthshaker gold is negligible. It's going to buy them wards. It's all right, noob. What are you doing, man? Deep inside enemy lines, he's going to drop a ward, and that ward's going to cost him his life. That's not a support gyrocopter. That is their farming carry. He was farming up the enemy woods and just gets blown to shreds. He gets deep wards. It doesn't matter. Or were those even placed by him? No, never mind. Those were placed previously, which made the gyrocopter feel himself safe. But, I don't know, maybe just lulling him to a false sense of security where he ends up falling. Ooh. I have no idea what he was doing there. That's not your base, Gyro. Vestius, now with the Vitality booster, is also ridiculously tanky. The concussive shot completely misses, but this Visage is an absolute juggernaut. The Scarlet Mage can't show his face. If the birds are there, one Grave Chill, he's done. One Familiar Stomp, he's done. Heck, even one bird could probably solo kill up the Scarlet Mage if it had the backup of the aura from the Drow Ranger. When she has the marksmanship bonus, that's 63 damage on your familiars. That's a sacred relic for every ranged hero on the side of THD. Everybody but the Centaur. And honestly, the Centaur doesn't need it. He's doing damage with his double edge. He has utility with Stampede. A lot of people are kind of lulled into the fact that, oh, I need 5 ranged heroes to really make a Drow work on my team. It's not the case. You need somebody to soak the attention away from the enemies, and that person is Jubilu. And he's doing a pretty darn good job of it. He's died 5 times, which isn't ideal, but he's killed 7, and he's made some pretty good moves. I don't know. It's going to be a Visage that's probably going to get an Atos. Once he gets that Atos up, Vestius can solo kill anybody. Maybe the exception being the Gyrocopter once he gets the BKB up, but other than that, these heroes are going to melt like butter. We do have a smoke that's going to be completely revealed by Ryan Noob and Noob's Arrest, so completely wasted. Junorla as well as Bartlett are smoked up and they might be able to make something happen, but they should know that the smoke is going on. Centaur's in the vicinity. He's not really a target you want to find. He's going to be caught out, and I think Jubilu is going to be able to blink away to safety, taking a very awkward moment. Casual Town Portal scroll on the ground. Could have picked that one up for himself, but he won't do so. Aghanim Scepter completed by the Viper. It's going to be a pretty big pickup, but Jubilu tagged up by the concussive shot as well as the fissure. He's going to take a little bit of damage, but he doesn't care. Yeah, so that's going to be all she wrote, is up in top tier 2 towers going to fall to the likes of the Viper. The Drow Aura wasn't deployed for that, and it wasn't even needed. Drow, now with the BKB of her own, is going to be a ridiculous teamfight presence, and now with an extra life, Yuka is incredibly scary. She's going to have the Midas to be used again. Level 16, her aura is completely maxed out. That's your 61 damage, and from here on out, it's just more agility. Get a Butterfly. Heck, get an Ethereal Blade. I'd love to see an Ethereal Blade Drow, especially when the BKBs drop lower for the Shadow Fiend as well as the Gyrocopter. Canceling their right-clicking is huge. It's TP away from Scarlet Mage. He's going to fail. Yuka just too much damage with the Viper Strike. Only level 2, enough to get through the very limited HP of your Scarlet Mage. I'm pretty sure that fight recap doesn't take into consideration Roshan. It's a bigger win than what that actually says. I'll keep that up there for a little bit longer in case you're actually interested. But yeah, it was literally just a Viper Strike and Dead Sky. 2-3 tower and bottom is going to fall. I don't think there's anything they do. They popped the Drow Aura for these familiars. Or did they? The Drow Aura is not in cooldown, but I could have sworn I saw that icon again. BKB on Ryan Noob. He's going to do a lot of damage as Ravage comes out into 3. They're going to be able to take the Aegis off the Drow, but the damage from Vestius is too much for the Gyrocopter. That's going to be a double kill going the way of Noob's Arrest. The Earthshaker Echo Slam is turning this one around as the Viper's on the sidelines, but the Shadow Fiend getting soloed up, or killed up by Leposa as he comes back from the dead. Scarlet Mage Mystic Flare and dropped onto him, but Leposa doesn't carry as the BKB now going to turn onto Railgun, trying to TP out, won't be able to make it out, as Bartlett's the only survivor on the Radiant side. Despite dropping all of their ultimates, it's now their base that's going to fall. There's only there's buyback on the Tidehunter and Shadow Fiend, but this melee barracks is going to fall before that happens. Leposa going for the range, they'll be able to get both. Leposa, no aura is available for a while, but it was already applied earlier, and now with the slow onto Railgun, I think Railgun's dead. Those familiars are going to purge off the slow coming up from Frost Arrows with one barrage of attacks, even though they have no charges of damage of their own, already hitting for 74. It's really fun to watch Drow Ranger and Visage as a combination. I mean, I don't know, some people might not think so, maybe they think it's cheap, but it's really fun to watch it actually work out because the damage is ridiculous. This is double Raxing. at 27 minutes in the game, this is damning for Tengen. The first game looking so good for them, but THD... Oh, blinking from the Earthshaker, gets onto Yuka. Yuka might fall, but the silence comes out, and on the sidelines, Opposed is doing a lot of damage to Tenurla. Tenurla's going to be the one to fall as Yuka survives. He's going to be brought out of there, will die to the missile, I believe, and there you go. Shadow Fiend gets the last hit, and, well, Opposed is juking through the woods. He doesn't have an Aegis, he does have a TP. He's going to turn on Rhino. Rhino taking a little bit too much damage as Opposed going to be juking around. He doesn't have a Blinker. Mask of Madness. His double kill codes on the backlines to Noobs or Russ. Buyback on both the Viper and the Centaur. BKB on Rhino as he tries to focus down the Visage, eating through the charges of the Gravekeeper's Cloak. Rhino, man fighting up against Opposed. Opposed is going to man to dodge the missile, but he had the BKB anyway, going to lose his life. Right clicks from Noobs or Russ, who's gone completely unchecked in this fight. Now focusing down Bestias. It's going to be a pretty big win for them as they do get the kill onto the Visage, although on the backlines they're able to get the kill on the Shadow Fiend as Hamaduffin is going to jump back into this fight. Swap the low ground. Hamiduffin's going to survive throughout all this. Buyback from the Shadow Fiend, a completely hectic engagement. I don't know what the heck is going on. It's a win for THD, but it costs them 2 buybacks. Who actually knows what the heck went on there? It is going to be 2,000 gold going the way of Tengen, and they quote-unquote won that fight as far as golden experience is concerned? Maybe. I don't know. There's still 2 barracks down, and this might just make it 3. Unfortunately for them, the Drow Ranger is still down. Ooh, they don't have the greatest of ways to break through this high ground, but it's on a razor's edge for Tengen. They don't have enough items on this gyrocopter to really be a threat, and they need to wait until they get that, but the Centaur on the backline jumps in, Noobs RS, he's going to fall. The Skywrath Mage is slowed down by the Corrosive Skin as they silence up Yuka and potentially turn on Force Staff to the low ground. Will keep Yuka 100% safe. Hamaduffin going to swap back to the Skywrath Mage into the loving arms of Yuka. Yuka going to be able to focus him down, and GG called out by Ryanoob. That's going to be all that she wrote. THD coming back after a Game 1 loss. I wasn't expecting this, but THD, we said earlier on inside the game, or at least me and Mike Loris did, that they're the more unconventional team. They're a little bit more on the risky side when they come to playing, and today it works out for them. Coming back in a very convincing fashion in these last 2 games. We see the power of the Drow Ranger and Visage combo. That Drow Ranger had a GPM of 6,201. That's wonderful and all, but a support, quote-unquote, Visage ends up with 422 GPM, getting items that most Visages only dream about, but it was pretty crazy. The house is down, coming out with a very convincing win in this game number 3, tying out the series 2-1. I've been Grandis V, and thanks for joining with me. We got to watch some wonderful plays with Jukes from the Viper, as well as the Visage killing everybody with birds. But either way, I'm here on HeflaTV. You can find us on twitch.tv/HeflaTV1, 2, and twitch.tv/HeflaMoke if you want to watch our English channels. We also have some Chinese action going on HeflaTV 5 and 6 if you're interested in that. Well, and as far as social media, Twitter and Facebook, you can find us on HeflaTV there as well, and the VODs will be uploaded sooner rather than later to youtube.com/HeflaMoke, probably within an hour or so, maybe a little bit longer than that if I'm lazy. But either way, hope to see you soon. Thanks for watching. It's been a pleasure. Grandis V, signing out.